Hello, I'm going to show you how to paint a very stylized abstraction of a Degas painting, and I have some really gorgeous close-ups at the end, so stick around. First, start by sketching your ballerina. This is a more impressionistic piece, but sketching first will help your proportions not be distractingly inaccurate, and will help keep your subjects within the rule of thirds. For those who don't know, the rule of thirds is a guideline artists use in developing successful compositions. The rule is, placing your focal points within the thirds of your canvas will create viewer interest. So for me, I placed mine in the bottom right third so the ballerina looks up toward the rest of the painting and her limbs create directional lines that keep the viewer's eye moving. Now, sketching is one of the most taxing parts of a painting. Sometimes getting proportions right can take hours, especially in realistic paintings, which require high levels of accuracy. Now, artists like me have many tricks to bypass the rigor of sketching and resketching 1,000 times. The first trick is to only paint things that no one will personally recognize. No, this is a cop-out. But there's a reason young artists sometimes prefer to draw animals rather than people. Everyone knows what their own face looks like, but if you inaccurately represent the portrait of a dog no one has seen, they wouldn't know what the original piece looked like. I thought about doing this here, never showing you my reference photo, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I will show you how I most accurately sketch my drawings. First, I use a sketching app to lay out my reference photo. Then I draw circles around the key points of the subject, like the head or the torso or the joints in the legs. Then I take away the layer with the drawing that leaves me with a stick person drawing of my reference, and it is much easier to draw a stick person than it is to draw real people. After I draw my stick person, I take a picture and see how I did compared to my reference. I can then use my old drawing as a reference of where to put the accurate stick person. For my ballerina, I accidentally drew her head and torso too large, so I had to correct that. In a normal painting, I would repeat that process until I got my sketch as accurate as possible. But since this was just an impression of a ballerina and not an attempt at realism, I only resketched my stick person once. I would also like to mention that this was my only pencil and I didn't have an eraser, so the stakes were high. I had a big deliberation about what background colors I wanted. To find what color scheme I liked, I picked out colors from other pictures to brainstorm possible palettes. Because my goal in this piece, and every piece really, was to have some beautiful close-up texture, I wanted my base layer to look random or inorganic. Most of the time, I just dabbed the white and muted blue on my brush and let the dry brushing mix on the canvas. And yes, this is dry brushing. Anytime the brush got too wet with paint, I would wipe it off, so I could really let that beautiful woven texture of the canvas do its thing. Grabbing some of that bronze was a complete accident, but I liked it and let it pollute my blues on purpose the rest of the time. Now, this is a secret among artists. Most organic and natural strokes are really just accidents that ended up looking good. Everything else is trying to repeat that accident. Don't micromanage your acrylic, just let it do its thing. The next step was to use my palette knife to add blocks of color. Now, the hardest part of a painting like this is unity and balance. For example, I knew I wanted to eventually add golden circles, so I put some gold in my blocks of color. My goal was to mimic the light hitting her and the shadow she cast. I don't know if I fully succeeded. Some of my colors were overplayed by shadows, but almost every color placement was intentional. How do I paint my ballerina without her becoming too representational, too busy, or too overpowering? I started with the fringe of her dress, hoping it would be a background layer for some other color blocks. I went over this several times and ended up just blocking in some white off camera because I really didn't like the rather abrupt change in texture. favorite part of the painting like this, the geometric shapes, especially that white circle. It's a very apparent directional line that ties in the white edge with the white accent and makes a really messy background look clean and intentional. I really like how this turned out in the end. The whole painting took about 2 hours to complete. One thing that can make a painting like this so frustrating is that you're using the same handful of colors, so it's like a race against the clock to use all of my paint before it dries. To reduce the waste and the stress, I used a gel medium to extend my paint's dry time, and so I have to mix less acrylic. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you liked this video and can find use in all of my painting tips. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Should I have stuck with my original texture for the dress, or do you like the block colors better? Like this video if you want to see more like it, and please subscribe. It's cheaper than Netflix and can actually expand your scope of art. You can be talking with an artist friend and they'll be telling you about how they have to use a pencil to check the proportions. You can be like, but did you know you can just take a picture of your sketch and paste it over the original, and they will marvel at you, and it's all because you subscribed. Okay, thank you for watching to the end. Bye.